speaking about South-South cooperation, capacity building, and networking. But before I make my 3 points, let me offer a new acronym for those of you who love acronyms. The acronym is NAW, and it stands for, having been involved in many, many networks over many, many years, not another website. A website is really an expensive, ineffective tool. People-to-people connections is what matters, and people in this room connecting with each other is what matters, and the people you connect with, each of you in your own way. And how do we build on that? So the first point I'm going to make is what we've been doing. You've already heard the short courses that we've run, workshops that we've run in Bangladesh. We have a master's program in climate change and development. I'm very pleased to have several people in the room who've either done the master's or are doing the master's here. We run a lot of short courses for internationals, both regional in Asia Pacific, but also with least developed countries from Africa. And we now have about 700 alumni from about 60 or 70 countries who have come to some of these courses, and I think there's at least a dozen people in this room who have come for either as participants or resource persons. And one of the issues that we have, a paradigm of learning and capacity building for us, every single capacity building activity is a two-way learning exercise. I learn from the people that come, they learn from me, and every conversation I have is about learning from somebody, and hopefully they're learning from me. It's not a one-way street where the teachers come and teach to students. Okay, we don't use that as our paradigm for capacity building. The second point I'd like to make is to think about institutions, and because I belong in a university, we have been networking amongst universities, both in the region in South Asia and Southeast Asia, but also beyond the region in the least developed countries, and we have something called the Least Developed Countries Universities Consortium on Climate Change, where we help each other. It's a South-South mutual learning exercise. It's not a donor-funded exercise, it's a long-term investment from the institutions and the people themselves. And one of the non-funded or non-externally funded activities that we do is an exchange of faculty that come and spend time with each other. The conditions are that the sending university pays for the travel, the air ticket, and the receiving university takes care of looking after them for a few weeks in their home country. And the third element is that there are no UN DSAs attached to the people giving their time. They're donating their time. What we give them is hospitality, they stay with us, they eat with us, to go around and look at what we're doing. And we're very happy to offer that to everybody here who would be interested in coming. So let me move on to the third and last part of my pitch, if you like, which is to pick up on some of the conversations we've had here and questions raised over the last few days, particularly from Yusuf and also Tom, in terms of how do we move from this incremental risk management to a more transformative, longer-term perspective. And I will argue that my country, Bangladesh, is well ahead of anybody else in doing this. 10 years ago, we developed something called the Climate Change Strategy and Action Plan with the 6 pillars and actions. The government of Bangladesh, our finance minister, every year in his budget has been putting $100 million into a trust fund that has now funded hundreds of activities. These are not externally funded. These are nationally driven capacity building exercises across government and non-government. The Climate Change Strategy and Action Plan is now being revised, updated to 2030, and the biggest single change is mainstream. Everything is now going into mainstream, finance, planning, all the sectors, government, non-government, private sector. Everybody is now moving up this transition from what used to be simply vulnerability and risk to transformational resilience by 2030. And this is something that the country of Bangladesh, across the entire society, not just within government, but in civil society as well as in academia and in the private sector increasingly, is now well up the learning curve on. And I invite all of you, as I said, either to come individually or come to our annual event every January called Gobeshona. Gobeshona is a Bangla word for research, where we get people not just within Bangladesh, we're now expanding into a global event to come and see what we are doing in Bangladesh, learn from what we're doing, and we can learn from you, as I say. To us, learning is always a two-way street, and we invite you to come and join us, and the network as well. Thank you.